Charles.
Lydia, thank you very much. Now I want to bring in Florida Congressman Greg Steube. Representative, Europe out overnight with a warning of national security risk from chips. And they're pointing to China's efforts, really their advancements in the chip making space. I've always considered this a national security issue for the United States. And, you know, what I'm wondering is if fiscal conservatives could actually get behind something like this $52 billion chip bill.
Well, I think what we saw in COVID is the need for manufacturing right here in the United States. We shouldn't be reliant on countries like China to get the chips into our country. You know, big companies like Ford was relying on getting the chips in. You have their Broncos that came out last year. The hardtops still aren't available. You can't get those all of this year. So you have big manufacturers in the United States that are reliant upon other countries to get our products. And I think COVID has shown us that we can't be reliant on other countries, especially when it comes to intellectual property like chips and semiconductors and all these other things, especially in the healthcare space. We need to be manufacturing that right here in the United States. And if we can create an environment through tax incentives to encourage those businesses to create and manufacture those things right here in the United States, that's absolutely what we should be doing.
But should the federal government put some money in the kitty, like this $50 billion that they've been suggesting for semis?
I don't think the government needs to do that. We shouldn't be giving money out in the form of corporate welfare. We should be creating a positive environment through a tax environment. We did it in Florida when I was in the state legislature in Florida. We don't have a personal income tax in Florida. We created an environment which made it very beneficial for corporations to be successful. That's what we need to do with the tax code right here in Washington so that manufacturers come back to the United States and have the tax benefits from doing that.
The news, the big headline is today is out of the House, the debt ceiling relief being passed. But I'm more interested in this defense spending bill. What should we know about that?
Well, actually, a breadth of bipartisanship up here in Washington, which you haven't seen much under Democratic rule in the last 4 years, the 3.5 years I've been in Congress. I voted for the NDAA last night right here in the House. It was very, very widely supported. It was pay raises for our military service members, one of the highest increases in fundings for our military. They took out a lot of the poison pill amendments that had been put in through the process. An overwhelmingly bipartisan package that was passed in the House last night and should go to the president's desk for signature.
On the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, perfect time to do it. I got less than a minute, Representative Steube, but I got to get your thoughts. Apparently, there's a report out. Apple CEO Tim Cook cut a secret deal. It was a $275 billion deal with Chinese authorities. They wanted concessions and legal exemptions for the iPhone and other devices. It's obviously paid off for Apple, but do you like that kind of business?
No, absolutely not. And before Trump left office, John Ratcliffe, his Intel head, said that the Chinese Communist Party was the biggest national security threat to the United States. So the last thing that we need is companies with intellectual property, especially like Apple, who a lot of us have iPhones. Their products are all across the country. They have information about us, working with the Chinese Communist Party and then getting paid on the back end by the Chinese Communist Party for that. Those are the type of things that we should do investigations on up here in Washington when the Republicans take the House back.
Representative Steube, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Congressman.
Thank you.
Now I want to bring in Gary Kalpound. And Gary, let's pick up on this Apple news. Like, listen, everybody I know that does big business in China says you've got to grease a lot of palms. So usually